Hello, hope you're well. Bit of a somber one today because I don't know if people have heard in the last, what's it been, like 4 or 5 days, that Ozzy Osbourne's passed away. And I'm not the biggest fan of Ozzy Osbourne. In terms of, like, if someone asked me who my favourite 3 bands are, they wouldn't show up. Like Black Sabbath, obviously, absolutely huge band, you know. And Ozzy Osbourne's solo stuff I actually really like, but it would never really hit my sort of playlists on Spotify. It would never be something that I'd like consciously go out of my way to find. And I think that's just this perpetual nature of like having so much available on Spotify in such a, you know, I kind of forgot about him for a bit, but yeah, it's just sad. Like, I think we all knew that he was someone that lived quite fast and someone that lived quite extreme, especially during his early years, where, you know, there was this famous thing where he like bit the head off a bat. And like, other than music though, like the Osbournes gave way and set this crazy precedent for like reality TV, where they would have like 60 cameras in their house filming at all times, like almost like a Big Brother sort of inspired TV show of them just being themselves. And I think that's something that really resonates with a lot of people, is Ozzy was genuinely just a one-of-one person. There's no one like Ozzy, and for what he lacks in the ability to actually talk and form a sentence, fuck me, he can sing. The way he sustains notes at the end of the lines on the songs, and it feels like very, like, if you hear Ozzy Osbourne and then you listen to Black Label Society, you know, naturally you've got the common thread of Zakk Wylde being involved in both projects, but the way his voice would travel would be something like, he's always been a vocalist as well. He'd never pivoted. He'd never decided that he was going to play drums. He never decided that he was also going to pick up guitar. He's always just been like a proper band leader and a proper decent frontman. Like, the amount of times I'd listen to live tracks of him doing like Bark at the Moon or Crazy Train or Mr. Crowley, and he'd be like, get up and fucking move to like the crowd. And, you know, the amount of involvement he had with younger bands and Ozfest, and just an absolutely unbelievable person in the music industry. And if you think about it from a top-down perspective, I don't really know who Ozzy Osbourne's sort of inspirations are. I know Lemmy would always cite Little Richard as one of his biggest inspirations to do Motorhead and stuff. But the amount of bands nowadays that I'm very fortunate that I get to speak to quite regularly for the podcast, the amount of bands that are inspired by Black Sabbath is unbelievable. And something that always really came true to me in Black Sabbath's sound and origins, and I think originally they were actually called Earth. I think that's right. Sorry if that's wrong. And then they went on, you know, when Ozzy didn't want to do Black Sabbath anymore, they became Heaven and Hell with Dio, who's also passed away now. So maybe Ozzy and Dio are having a pint in heaven or wherever they are. Who knows? Yeah, just that sort of industrial feel of Birmingham, and where Tony, Bill, Geezer and Ozzy all grew up around that sort of feeling of brick walls and working in factories and welding and fabrication. And you got songs like Iron Man and NIB, and obviously Paranoid's one of the biggest songs ever made, which still stands at a record-breaking 2 minutes and 10 seconds. One of the biggest short singles ever. And, you know, you could even go further down the rabbit hole with Black Sabbath, with Masters of Reality. I think Fairies Wear Boots was on that album. and they did so much, but they weren't in a rush to get stuff out like nowadays, where bands release an album every 2 years because that's what their record label wants them to do, you know? Just an unbelievable presence in the music industry has just been sort of taken away from us. And I really hope, even though I know that they're financially sound, I really hope that Kelly, Jack, and Sharon are okay. Because a lot of people, when they pass away, you know, Chris Cornell, Chester Bennington, and, you know, delete as appropriate, there's always this sense of like, oh, they'll be fine. Like, they've got loads of money. It's not about that. Like, a couple of weeks ago, Ozzy Osbourne played one of the biggest shows ever with Back to the Beginning. And all of the money that went through that show, and even now with Youngblood releasing Changes, all of that money has gone to charity. And it's like, if Black Sabbath were, you know, struggling, that would go into their back pocket, and it would go into their tour managers' bank accounts, you know? But they're still people. And I think through watching some of the Osbournes TV show and stuff, you just got to see that they were fighting and battling this, like, celebrity lifestyle of, like, I don't know about you, I think I've spoken about this before, but I don't want people coming up to me and screaming because they've met me. But then again, you know, you're putting your entire life on camera, then that might happen. But I want people to listen to Ozzy, not just because he passed away recently, but because stuff like Bark at the Moon is just such a creative way to write songs. And I really, really like Zakk Wylde. Once again, I don't seek his music out really, but good songwriting is just constantly flowing through this guy's, you know, style, and the way he composes songs and uses his voice to transcend dimensions. And I think he always seemed to talk about two things, which was, I don't even know how I'm still alive. I think that's actually mentioned in the album Black Rain. It might be in Civilize the Universe, which Black Rain came out in 2007, and it still sounds incredible now, which is a real testament to the production quality of the album. It's one of my favourite albums Ozzy's ever done. I just think it's unbelievably well produced. And he would always also sing about battles and wars and people in poverty going out to fight the government, you know, the world leaders that are rich. What is it? War pigs. I can't remember. Generals gathered in their masses, just like witches at black masses. There's a lyric in that song, I can't remember what it is now, but it's like, when the rich wage war, the poor die. And it's just like, oh man, like, everyone can relate to that. Everyone's been through some sort of sadness or grief or war, or, you know. But I really, really hope that everyone's getting through this in a way that's self-reflective and mourning, and I'm sure there's going to be a hell of a funeral for him. But I don't know, I feel like a part of me's been taken away, and I've always felt really weird when celebrities die. And part of it is because they had such a profound effect on people like me, and I never got to say thank you to them. And I'm sure, you know, hundreds of thousands of people have said it to them, and people line up in malls to take pictures and autographs and all that sort of stuff. But it's just sad, man. Like, everyone I meet today, if I was to interview every single person that I interacted with today going through supermarkets and driving around, everyone knows who Ozzy Osbourne is. And I was a bit umming and ahhing about doing a video like this, because I don't want to seem like I'm trying to sort of jump on the train of crazy train of like mourning people through YouTube and stuff, but grief's weird. Like the whole losing someone loss process is so strange, because it's like when you hear that someone's died, my initial reaction is, how can I avoid this? Can I bury myself in work? Can I not acknowledge this right now because I'm busy? And then like a couple of weeks pass and I'm like, oh man, I really miss that person. Like, but I suppose with like artists and, you know, people that have done TV shows and stuff, their sort of memory lives on through the music and through the medium of media. But it sucks. And I'm sure, you know, Ozzy doesn't have any regrets and all that sort of stuff, but like, fuck man, I don't know, it's like over the couple of days of like really thinking about this, it's like actually hit me harder as time's gone on. And also like grief doesn't really give a shit what you're doing. Stuff hits you and you're like, oh god, I need to deal with this right now. And yeah, I don't know, I'm struggling a little bit with the fact that I'm not going to hear him again through any medium. But one thing that we can obviously do, and we have been doing as fans of him, I think the Billboard top 10 is just Ozzy Osbourne and Black Sabbath this week. But what a creative human being. Someone that really didn't deviate from his vision of being a rock star. And I didn't go back to the beginning, but I saw the footage of him in his throne as the Prince of Darkness, wanting to get out of his throne and stand up and perform properly, you know, but physically, I think he had Parkinson's, correct me if I'm wrong, but physically not being able to get out of his chair, but fucking going for it, like big time, just there for the people, you know, and just wanting people to get involved in any capacity. And yeah, I don't know, I feel a bit weird. I like the fact as well that Back to the Beginning was primarily celebrating Black Sabbath and Ozzy Osbourne in general, but you know, you had two from Sleep Token there, and Tom Morello and Anthrax and various other bands, and people like Youngblood were there, and people that you might not have expected to be backstage, and Billy Corgan as well was there. And I don't know, I think Ozzy had such a crazy impact on the way that we listen to music nowadays. With rock and metal, it's really been quite tricky listening to some of his music now. But yeah, anyway, hope everyone's well. Yeah, let me know if you like these kind of videos, because I think some things on YouTube should be private and some things should be celebrated in public. And yeah, I don't know, I feel a bit odd doing this, but I felt like it was necessary, because I'm trying to be as honest as possible on this channel, even though it's not necessarily about the podcast. But yeah, definitely check out the Black Rain album. It's unbelievably good. It's very dark sounding and very sort of war and atmospheric. But yeah, hope everyone's well. Thanks for watching, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye bye.